Hi, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Girl Uninterrupted. I'm your host, Kritikai, and I don't know if this is the third or fourth episode, but we'll see. And I know this setting might seem a little odd. I am sitting on the floor of my room. It is currently 1:14 on the 31st of January 2023. Welcome, New Year. And I know this setting may seem extremely casual, and no, there are no guests this time. But, I just wanted to have a chat. I want to get into more solo episodes as is, but I just wanted to have a chat. How are you? Are you good? Are you well? What did you eat for lunch? I don't know. I just wanted to talk. And I apologize if I keep looking at myself instead of looking up at the camera, but I'm a bit of a narcissist. I'll deal with that. What do I want to talk about today? So, a couple of months ago, I want to say three months ago now. Yeah, 2.5, 3 months ago, I came across this TED Talk, which I will link in the bio below, by Brene Brown, called The Power of Vulnerability. It's a beautiful TED Talk. I really enjoy watching TED Talks in general, but even if you don't, that is one TED Talk I would recommend that you watch. That talk somewhere inculcated and birthed this idea and thought inside me, which hasn't left me since then. I think it's just been growing. And as you can guess, it is about vulnerability, but I think it's about vulnerability in our generation. You know, I recently turned 21, um, and I did not want to turn 21, believe it or not. As a college student, I did not want to turn 21. And I think the reason is that I sort of felt this existential crisis oncoming. And let me tell you, it's here. And one of the things that I feel like I'm dealing with or trying to understand is how to be vulnerable. I think we as a generation, from a very young age, I think we've all been taught to be strong. And the idea of strength that has been taught to us, I don't think it somewhere leaves space for vulnerability, you know, especially when it comes to women. I consider myself a strong young woman. I consider most of the women around me extremely strong women. But one thing I find very common, which I used to think was only the case for me, was that we all struggle uh, with vulnerability. I think the reason is that we as a society have been taught that to be strong, you must deal with everything yourself. That the strongest person in the room is the person who can face any obstacles on their own, who can overcome every challenge on their own. And I don't think that's the most accurate, especially women. Women in our generation who are blessed enough to have parents like mine who've, given them the freedom and brought them up exactly like their sons, or brought them up with the same dreams and aspirations that they have had for their sons. I think somewhere we self-taught ourselves that to be these strong women, we cannot cry and we cannot ask for help and we cannot express vulnerability in any sense of the word. I think we as a generation are scared of vulnerability and intimacy and letting someone see the sides of us that are maybe weak and not the most strong. And I find that so interesting because I always say this whenever, I discuss mental health, slow emergence and acceptance of mental health and therapy. I always say that the strongest person in the room is the person who is willing to ask for help, to know that they are not okay, to ask for help and to go out there and seek that help, to better themselves like that. I say these things, but I don't think I've ever applied that for myself. I don't think I've ever applied that rule for myself. And I don't think I'm the only one who does that. I think a lot of us do that. I think we say a lot of things in public, but I don't think we always stand by them when it comes to us and how we deal with certain things. I feel like to talk about the concept of vulnerability, I know I look interesting, to say the least, But I don't think I could sit here and preach or try to discuss vulnerability if I don't show my most common self. I have greasy hair and I have no makeup on my face and my skin is dry. And what else? I haven't even showered yet. And it's almost, yeah, and it's 1:30 p.m. almost. So, this is me. Vulnerable. Common. This is what I look like 90% of the time. And I just probably somewhere my aim or hope with this conversation or this episode is to open the floodgates of this conversation. I feel like one thing that women particularly struggle with, or if I don't make a blanket assumption, I struggle with, is that I feel like if I cry or if I ask for help, I'll immediately negate all the hard work I've done to be strong or to be seen as strong. Because, there are a bunch of stigmas associated with women when it comes to vulnerability, right? Women cry a lot, women are overly emotional, we don't have the right analytical skills because we look at everything from a very idealistic and emotional point of view. But then the question begs, so what? So what if I cry? So what if I cry exactly like a girl? What if I cry at the drop of a hat? What if I am emotional? What if I feel a lot of emotions and they overwhelm me? What is wrong with that? And what does being a woman have to do with that? If we are going to have the conversation of gender and sex, then I feel like females as a sex are more evolved emotionally, right? We have countless studies and countless surveys which prove that we are the more emotionally evolved sex. We have a higher EQ. But isn't that the reason why we also believe that if the society today was matriarchal rather than patriarchal in nature, we wouldn't be facing 90% of the issues that we do? So, to hell with it. To hell with it if we as a society have taught ourselves to not cry or we've told our boys to not cry like girls. I think they should. I tell my brother all the time that if he can cry like a girl, then he's probably reached the highest level of emotional maturity that he ever can. I think it's about time we stopped thinking that vulnerability is our greatest weakness. I think it's our greatest strength. I think the person who has the ability or the power to show themselves at their weakest or to show their wounds or to proudly show their battle scars is the person who is the strongest. The strongest people don't try to deal with everything on their own. I think the strongest people ask for help when they need it. And that's something that I'm slowly learning. I don't want to be a priest who doesn't listen to her own preachings, but I'm trying. I'm trying to change my relationship with vulnerability. I'm trying to change my relationship with what I consider a weakness or what I believe is a weakness in other people. Because I think we also suffer from some kind of a savior complex. Because I think most of us love it if someone comes up to us and they don't feel good or they cry in front of us or they share their vulnerable side. But then we feel horrible doing that. And I understand if the we that I talk about does not relate to you at all. Maybe it's projection. Maybe this entire conversation is nothing more than just projection from my side. But I can name quite a few people in my immediate circle who I know suffer from the same issues. I somewhere built this image of me, especially around boys, that I was like this strict disciplinarian who, was just sassy all the time, and she was just so, strong and be careful of what you say around her. And I built this image of me as some great dictator. But I think in reality, I've been quite the opposite of that all my life. All the people who are close to me and know me, they know that I'm actually a big buffoon and I'm a goof. And I'm not intellectual in any sense of the word. I enjoy B grade, C grade music, and I only enjoy Bollywood rom-coms or like those stereotypical 2000s rom-coms. And I get overwhelmed very easily by emotion. You can bring me to tears at the drop of a pin, I am not one of those people who isn't in touch with their emotional side. But I hate it. I've always hated the fact that I can cry so easily. Always. Which is why I felt the need to build this image up of me at a younger age, because I felt like if people knew that I could cry at the drop of a hat, or if it was easy for me to be moved to such an emotion, nobody would take me seriously. I just decided, I said, nobody's going to take me seriously if they know that I am extremely vulnerable as a person. Why do we think that to be seen as strong, we as women need to be seen as harsh? Why can't we be strong and harsh, but at the same time, feminine and soft? I suffer from wet anger, which is I'll scream for 2 seconds and then I'll start crying because that's just who I am. And I hate that. I've hated that about myself ever since I understood that concept, because, I start crying and then, it's like I diminish the value of what I was saying and I diminish my anger, and how dare they know that they let me cry. But my crying has nothing to do with them. Expressing my softer side has nothing to do with the person standing across from me. It has everything to do with me and how comfortable I am accessing and showing that side. I don't think that to be strong, women should have to follow the same sort of suit that men have followed for generations. I think there's a reason why men in general, and this is a blanket assumption I feel like I can make, I feel like men in general are not in touch with their emotional side because they were never taught to. It isn't their fault. They were never taught that it's okay if you comprehend these emotions, it's okay if you feel these emotions. So then why should we follow that example to be seen as strong? I think we can create our own version of strong. So what if I cry like a girl? So what if I think like a girl? So what if I'm more emotionally evolved than I may be intellectually? So what if my EQ is higher than my IQ? So what? That doesn't mean that I cannot be taken seriously in this pragmatic, practical world which does not leave any space for idealism. That's not true. I still can be. And so can you. If you're someone who's watching this and you relate to what I just spoke about, high five. Bring it in. Bring it in. And probably like a hug too. Like I'm patting your back, you're fine. You will be fine. That's sweeter. And if you're someone who's watching this and you don't relate to this at all, share it. Because chances are someone around you will. And to get a little more specific, if you're a boy or a man watching this, share this. Share this video with or audio if you're listening to it on Spotify. Share this with your mother, share this with your sister, share it with your girlfriend, your wife, your friend. Share it with the women in your life and just remind them that it's okay to cry. It's okay to cry and it's okay to let it out and it's okay to express emotion. It's okay if you're vulnerable. And it's okay if you let people see your vulnerability, because if you can do that, you're the strongest person in every room. Every room. And remind them that they have a shoulder they can cry on. Comment down below if you've had your own struggles or acceptances of vulnerability in your life and how you dealt with it. Comment down below. Let us know what you think of it. Let us know what you think of what I said. If you believe in it, if you don't believe in it. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. If you're listening to this on any audio streaming site, then stay tuned for upcoming episodes. If I start crying in the middle of an episode anytime in the future, I'm not going to be embarrassed. I've already shown you what I look like right now. I don't think I can be any more embarrassed than this. Let's be proud of our emotional expressiveness. And that is all I have to say. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, and thank you for letting this girl remain uninterrupted.